Wind of Wains has the similarities of the last episode. The only difference is that this is the first episode where Steven and Peridot hung out together, and this is technically the first Steven and Peridot episode. And even though that this includes information centering around the cluster itself, what really made me appreciate this episode is the fact that my first binge watch was mainly focusing on how Peridot is improving as a character, and when it comes to the second binge watch, it really shows that this relationship between Steven and Peridot has been the major focus of this second season. Obviously, Peridot still has a grudge towards the Crystal Gems, and they don't get much of a focus until the following episodes. But to tell you the truth, since that Steven is the one who is willing to listen to reason when it comes to Peridot, I can guarantee you that there's pretty much a reason onto why Steven has been doing that when it comes to multiple characters. But it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but we haven't gotten to the most infamous thing centering around Steven being reasonable towards other gems. And I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with what I'm referring to. Mainly diamonds. So, with that being said, I felt like that the first half of this episode, well, Peridot goes into the rain since that she is afraid of thunderstorms when it comes to it having anything to do with the cluster. It's difficult for it to actually get adjusted to what Steven is used to when it comes to human life. And believe me, I can guarantee you that the first half was mainly focusing on Peridot warming up to Steven, while the second half of the episode showcases her knowledge of the cluster. Peridot's dialogue towards the second half is mainly exposition centering around the cluster itself. And to tell you the truth, I know full well that whenever we see Peridot in the second half of this episode, despite the first half being superior, it really shows that her being warming up to Steven is literally the only way for her to actually become a Crystal Gem towards the end of this season. And with this being integral when it comes to the mutant fusions, on how that they're force fusions, believe me, the cluster is a lot more physical of how dangerous it would have become once it gets into a very difficult place on destroying the Earth. Believe me, I really felt like that watching this episode for the first time. I didn't really mind much, I only thought about the characters, but thinking about the world building centering around the cluster and how it leads to the events of the first episodes of Season 3. Sometimes a character doing exposition by affirming what's really going on is somewhat important. Mainly the fact that these episodes, despite being 11 minutes long, have somewhat of a purpose on being 11 minutes long. Believe me, when I watched Adventure Time, I wasn't really into these types of formats, but when it came to Steven Universe, it did much more better. This episode isn't the best Peridot episode of this arc, obviously, but when it comes to the wholesome bits from the first half, I can say that this is still the better that we've seen so far. Trust me, when we're getting into more Peridot episodes that are left from this season, we're getting into the better parts upon wrapping up this season in just a couple of days. Trust me, this second binge watch really shows the admiration that I've missed out on my first binge watch of Steven Universe. I'm giving this episode a 7.25 out of 10.